be on time, 5:20 today, as well as for the rest of the week. As we were speaking about on Friday, we talked about a person who's a Chazan, and he's saying his silent Shmona Esrei. And he makes a mistake that any average person, if he made that mistake, would have to go back for. Let's say, forgot Ya'aleh v'yavo, or he said Barechenu instead of saying Barech Aleinu. One of those types of mistakes that requires a person to go back for. And he only remembered after he finished the tefillah, meaning after he finishes the Shmonai, so he says, Oseh Shalom, oh, I forgot Ya'aleh v'yavo. In that case, we tell him, don't go back. Why? Because you have a tefillah in front of you. You have to do the repetition of the Shmonai. So since you're anyway doing the repetition for the congregation, that will be Motzi Yudei Chovah, because what's the alternative? We're going to tell him to go back. Everybody's going to have to wait for him until he finishes, and then he's going to have to do the Hazara. That's going to be a very big tircha de tzibura. Since we're concerned for the time of the community, we say anyway he's praying Hazara, so let him, during the Hazara, amend and correct the mistake that he made in his own tefillah, and that will count for his tefillah. Simultaneously, it will be his tefillah and the Hazara for the rest of the congregation. So that's very good in Shacharit or in Minha, where there is a Chazara. Or we said Avit of Friday night, where we have at least the Me'en Sheva, so there's a form to go ahead and correct, because that Me'en Sheva is like a Hazara. But what about a regular Avit during the week, where there is no Hazara? And then he makes a mistake. So it won't be Rosh Chodesh, because that's not a good example, since you don't go back for that. But Chol HaMoed would be an example, that's right. If you say Ya'aleh v'yavo on Chol HaMoed, if you missed it on Arvit, you would have to go back. So therefore, in that particular case, if a Chazan made a mistake, let's say in the Ya'aleh v'yavo of Chol HaMoed, or in the Barech Aleinu like we mentioned before, so then the Halacha really does say he's required to go back. There's no special exception, because he's Chazan, he's not required to go back. But what we would suggest in that particular case, so that everybody doesn't have to wait for him to repeat, is that he finishes the Kadishim. He'll say Aleinu l'shabeach, Barechu Aleinu l'shabeach, and then he'll do the repetition. So he'll postpone it a little bit so that not everybody has to wait, which is fine for the Arvit because it's not such a delay. You're not talking about a serious delay. Now, one important point to mention is if the Chazan catches himself making a mistake while he's in the middle of Shmonai Esrei, we won't tell him to finish the Shmonai Esrei. We'll tell him to go back and correct the mistake that he made, because he's still within the Shmonai Esrei. But we're talking about a case where he already finished the Shmonai Esrei, and that's why we would rely on the Hazara. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen.